Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the next episode of the Grid Shift podcast. I'm your host, Alex Durante. Very excited to have everybody here today. Quick note on the name, because I know sometimes it raises eyebrows. So a grid is just a system that business runs on. And the shift happens when the person running it actually decides to rewire it. And that's what the show is all about. It's about forward-thinking leaders across all different industries. As some of you know from the previous episodes, we've been talking to a lot of people in the functional health space, which is very exciting. A lot of very cool things going on. But we talk about how these founders and these business men and women talk about their business and what they actually think, what they think about growth, what they're building, all that kind of good stuff. So I'm excited to get into that today. Quick read from our sponsor before we get started. Our sponsor is Access AI. So I'll be straight with everybody. Most AI companies, they're run by people who have never actually run a business. We have. That's what makes Access AI different. A lot of owners have to own the entire system. They wear a lot of different hats. And the reality is nothing moves when they step away. And so what we do is we identify what's costing businesses time and more importantly, what's costing them money. And we help them fix that with practical AI solutions. So that's our sponsor. Today, very excited for our guest. Our guest today is Connie Street. She's a registered nurse with nearly 3 decades in healthcare. She's multi-state licensed, holistic women's wellness, and the naturopathy practitioner. Okay, we're going to get into that a little bit more. She's the founder and program facilitator for Self-Care University, where she helps women navigate a lot of different things, including menopause, postmenopause, and really the stuff that most doctors weren't actually trained to help people with. So, Connie, good to have you on here today. Very excited to start unpacking things. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing so well. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So, something you said that's been sitting with me, and I'm going to quote you. You talked about the struggle bus is out there for our clients. And that's something that stuck with me because I want to unpack that a little more and understand a little bit. But before we jump into that, can you just introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us a little bit more about your business and really what's the core of what you guys do?
Hello. It is so good to meet you all, even though we haven't got to meet in person. The core to what I do is education. And because the more you know, the better you can make decisions. And I appreciate that I've done that for the nearly 30 years that I've been in practice. And that also initiates other questions for them to me and also to their provider, which is because when a provider has the information, it is up to the client to ask those questions so that they can have really good dialogue.
Love it. Love it. Simple way to put it. And we're going to unpack that a little bit more. But you just said this. You've been doing this for almost 30 years, maybe more than 30 years. I think you said since 1996, right?
That's correct.
And you've had all these years in healthcare before you started Self-Care University and it's become what it has today. I want to know, what did you start noticing year after year doing this that made you realize that maybe the traditional system wasn't going to fix the problems for women that you've been able to fix? Like, what were those things that you started noticing where you went, there's a gap here and I can help people fill this gap?
So to know that is to also know the system. Others have their own system. They have their, I call it the triangle. Well, I don't fit in their triangle. And also, I've also thought outside of the triangle. I thought outside the box because single woman needs to fit inside that triangle of their care. Does that make sense? Because there are sometimes when standard of care is not best for women, sometimes they need more. They need someone to listen because their symptoms are the ones driving the ship. And their symptoms, let's make that a new word. Their symptoms are the one driving the ship, and that is not going to fit sometimes in standard of care. So that's where I love to come in. I love to work with providers. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with their triangle because they are doing what they do. But what I do is I actually help open that up and to create space for women to talk about their symptoms so we can deep dive into what's truly going on, then loop right on back to the to either get a prescription, or let's also talk about something that I do, which is naturopathy. Not everything requires a prescription. So I love the natural options of where we can think about other options.
Yeah. And we'll dig into that in a little bit, but we both come from the same generation, and we talked about this a little bit on the pre-podcast call. We talked about how uh, our generation is, let's just say we have a self-care deficit in our generation, right? Most of us, well, not most of us, all of us were raised by boomers in some capacity. Uh, that generation didn't necessarily have all the answers. They didn't have all the technology and the wealth of information that we're blessed with now. And so I want to know how much of what you built, has really been about filling that gap and answering the questions that nobody really answered for our generation. Like, what does that look like? What is it that you've been able to build to kind of bridge that gap that our generation has had, which the reality is we do have a self-care deficit.
Going right back to those baby boomers, imagine a Gen Xer asking a baby boomer, um, why do I have this happening? And the baby boomer does not know. And they just go, well, or because you're a woman, or just really making these really blanket statements, but really not offering something that's going to offer clarity. I love that 100% of my business is offering clarity. I love doing the deep dive. I love being able to unpack, and I have the ability through my years of training. I can hear a woman speak about an issue, and I can know exactly what's going on because I either have heard it multiple times over 30 years. There's some similarities, but also there's something very unique to that woman that she needs to hear that typically doesn't happen when you're in the office space because I have more than 15 minutes than the provider does.
I love the way you put that. It's true. And you spent really years, you were doing oncology research, whether you were doing case management, so many more things that I'm not going to list off because I don't remember all of them. But I remember us talking just about the amount of hospital systems that you spent time in. Then you became multi-state licensed. You started building your own practice outside of any brick and mortar. What was the actual decision point where you decided, hey, the system's great. You just mentioned, that the traditional healthcare, like it's wonderful. It does what it's supposed to, but you realize something different. What was that moment where you decided and you said, you know what, I'm going to step outside of the traditional system and I'm going to start working things my own way?
It came out of a need and necessity. It wouldn't have been money that I would have spent because I am a wise spender. But I don't spend money unless there is a need to do so, and I find that I'm going to consistently receive revenue in that route. So there are many states other than the one that I live in that there are those similar problems. There are those similar issues. I've also worked with some people outside of the United States, but just remember those are more military based and things like that. So their home state is still in the US. So we can have that dialogue then. But there it seems to be from what I hear and what I'm gathering is in different states, it's the same issue where women will go to the doctor's office. 15 minutes, 10 minutes goes by, and then they are in their car and they have no clue what the doctor said. And then next thing you know, they're on their way to get a prescription and they have no clue what to do. So then they turn to social media and they say, oh, women, what are we doing? So just so you know, it's not just the state I live in. I have found it in multiple states.
It- and we talked about that a little bit. I mean, I think that the need has never been bigger, the knowledge gap has never been bigger. And let's talk about a little bit, like I want to take the audience through what your weeks actually look like. I know you do speaking engagements. You could have, up to half a dozen or a dozen speaking engagements every month. You're traveling, you're helping people in different areas. You take consultations where you go across state lines because you're licensed in multiple states. What is it, what does the day to day really look like for you? And what does that take operationally to be able to run that and be able to really spread yourself across so many different things to help so many different people?
For one, I am super organized. My calendar is phenomenal. I need it so much. The one thing that I do for public speaking is I do allow myself to have specific dates and specific times for public speaking, whether it's in Colorado or whether it's in, it wherever it's at, I make sure that I have those dates blocked off. The other thing is I do have people who still have consultations. They still have their questions. They still get their 60 minutes with me. So what is very nice about the way that I have structured my business is that the time has been removed when I will be public speaking, and the time is available for whenever I do their consultations. So if anyone books an appointment with me, they know they're not getting me who's about to jump on a plane. They're getting me who's actually I'm mentally, physically, I'm spiritually, emotionally, I am present with them. But whenever I'm out public speaking to 500 people, it is really nice to be able to say at one time to multiple people.
And so let me ask, how much of your time is actual coaching, the consultative approach versus speaking and re-educating people on, what they've been told wrong, like we talked about, like what's the split of that actual coaching versus the speaking engagements and educating people?
So I do about this is summertime, so about eight speaking events, and I also still do networking and things like that. So I have to have that in my schedule. And then I would say the other half is the consultation. There is a lot of time that is still spent with my clients because there is a severe deficit. Even with AI, people still have questions because AI is not it's not actually able to do the complex thinking based on everything that the client is saying. So there are still questions. AI is really nice, but it still does open the door um, for them to ask lots of questions. So there is plenty of time. I would say it's 50-50 right now. It slows down a little bit during the holidays because not too many people are traveling and going to events. So then my online classes, those take flight during like the September to December timeframe.
So different cycles for different things. I think that's great. I mean, I'm all about having different seasons in my business depending on what we're focused on, and I think it's important. Now, and correct me if I'm wrong if I get the name of this wrong, but I remember you mentioning Full Script as your supplement pharmacy, right? And we talked
Mhm.
about that a little bit. Um, and really the standards that you have for the products that you're actually willing to offer people. So how do you decide where to draw that line? Especially, I mean, we talked about just running to Costco and getting a supplement, and sometimes you don't even know what's actually in it. So, how do you draw that line, especially with all the noise in the supplement and peptide space right now? Like, what are really those indicators and those things where what you're providing is high quality, people are getting what their body actually needs? Like, how do you distinguish that? How do you navigate it's a complex landscape right now. And there's a lot of bad actors out there.
I've been called a supplement guru. I've even gone all the way through social media platforms, if you will, the ones that have those shops, also the other large online shops. And I've done my research. So I know, thank you so much for mentioning that I'm a research nurse as well. I don't ever stop researching. I will look at ingredients, I will look at the quality, the efficaciousness, third party tested. Is it FDA regulated? Because there's no such thing as a supplement that is FDA approved, because then that's going to go right into the prescriptions. So I hope people know that clarity as well. When I am speaking to a client and they tell me My doctor put me on omega-3 supplement, and I went to use at Costco, and they had 1,000 capsules for $12.99. And but it gives me fish burps. Well, the one thing that I would like to tell you is that if you are actually taking a quality omega-3 supplement, fish burps should not even be anywhere in the equation. It's not like, oh my gosh, that's a side effect. And that's something that I've even heard from providers. So, what I like to say is, where are you getting the best quality? And I have found that in full scripts, for one, their prices may seem higher, but that's okay because that's the quality versus going to, say, that big box store and getting 1,000 for 12.99. You're going to have to take 10 to 20 times the amount of that one bottle of supplement to even try to get close to the quality that you should have. You then go to your provider and they're like, why are your omega levels not raising? I put you on this supplement, but really the quality wasn't there in the supplement, which I have gotten 100% of the time with the measures that Full Scripts takes.
Love it. And I have a follow-up question to that because I think right now, right, a lot of people in this space are just telling people, yes, yes, take this. Yes, take that. Yes, this pill works for you. Yes, this supplement works for you. But the truth is there isn't an easy button. There are certain things that work better for certain people. Everyone's biology is different. Everyone's lifestyle is different. So how is it and you had said like there's times where you'll tell people no, this probably isn't for you, but how do you tell a client no when everyone in the space is telling them yes, yes, yes?
Well, if I can be truthfully honest, because that is the type of nurse that I am, I can be a little bit of cutthroat too. Sorry, not sorry. But you know what? The only person that I feel like is saying yes is the person that's going to financially benefit. And to me, I really feel like my clients understand that I'm not like, uh-huh, I'm going to get commission off of it. You should totally get it. Add to cart, baby. Let's go. I mean, I will get a commission on full scripts. Let's just be honest. But that does not affect the price of their product. It just comes from the manufacturer going, hey, I this is the price. But why not? It's not an MLM. It's in fact, it's nowhere near an MLM. I feel like the answer no should be said when it's appropriate. Like also when you don't need it and it's just going to be flushed out. When your body absolutely doesn't need it, it might be toxic on your liver, it might be toxic on your kidneys to be taking too much. There's a time point to start and a time point to stop. But if you're with those subscription companies and they just want you to go, 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 how long are you supposed to be on that? Is it for life? Is it for a few months? Because if so, a subscription's great, but only for 3 months, then cut that off. If there's some things that you need to take for life, like maybe your omegas, jump in, get the best quality, get a good deal.
Right. So I mean, you keep it candid and straightforward. You actually help people with what they need help with and weed out the things that they don't. And transitioning to another part that I want to talk about, which is the systems and the scalability. And you're a founder, you wear a lot of different hats. There's a lot of newer founders, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are looking at our show like waiting to take that leap. And so one thing that I do like to talk about on the podcast is the systems and scale and what that really looks like. And so you said it plainly to me. You said your business is fully functioning by you, because of you. You don't have a brick and mortar, there's no team around you, you wear a lot of different hats. I'm just wondering, from your perspective, as you continue to grow, you've been at this for a long time now, right? You know what you're doing. Where have you seen that ceiling from being a solo entrepreneur? Like, do you ever feel like there's a ceiling or a certain place where people get to a certain point where they're like, hey, I need better systems, I need a way to be able to scale? Like, what are those things that you've identified now that you've grown to a certain point where you have all these speaking engagements, you're doing all this different travel? Like, what does that start to feel like and look like from a systems and scale perspective as a solo entrepreneur?
The only ceiling that I've ever felt is whenever I was at a block and I just needed a professional who knew what they were talking about, like someone who lives it, eats it, breathes it, someone who is a business strategist. Those are my favorite people because they understand. They know that like you've reached a point, but then you want to go higher because you know in your own business that you don't want to make 150,000 a year if you could make 300,000. But what is stopping you if you're starting to see that the money that you're making is starting to become just the same amount, almost like a salary, and that can seem like a ceiling. But then you have this time because time sometimes we can just have just more time on our schedules available that we want to be productive. So finding someone who is a professional to help, that has been a great that has been a great blessing in my business is finding professionals who know what they're doing, they know what they're talking about, and they can speak to you in a way because they're a business strategist. There's someone who understands, like, oh, have you thought about this? Here are 5 things to try. And you're thinking, this is mind blowing. This is why you're a professional. This is why you do what you do. I do not want to be a business strategist. I want to be a
Right.
nurse. Don't you want me to be the one telling you about your medical care versus the one going, by the way, in my business, did you know that I have reached this, capacity in my pay? You're like, who cares? I've got menopause symptoms. Let's talk about it. So to me, staying with professionals who know what they're doing, knowing that if you've reached a ceiling and you want to go higher, I don't know what entrepreneur doesn't want to go higher and make more money because that means more things, that means more trips, that means more opportunities to get out there and invest and create this beautiful nest egg, get that home that you've always wanted, and finally be the person that said, I want to make money while I sleep, those things.
Yeah. And another important thing that you do, which I think is important for every business owner, is networking. Now, we had talked about how you would sometimes network up to 10 times a month, and you've cut that down quite a bit because we've all been at the networking events that are kind of crappy, right? You're not really networking with people that you even want to have a conversation with. So I'm wondering for you, cutting that down from 10 or more times a month to about 4 times a month, what changed in how you filter who's worth talking to and who's worth the time? And that's not to sound arrogant, right? But everyone's time has a different value. And so I'm wondering for you, like, what really changed in how you're able to filter out some of those networking events that maybe weren't worth the time and now making sure that you're in the right rooms with the right people?
I'll just tell you, if I'm networking in a group full of roofers, that I'm in the wrong place. Right? It's not for me. That's not to say that that networking group is poop. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that that is not going to fulfill a need that I have. Do those roofers have testosterone and estrogen? Yes, they do. Can I help them? Sure. But I don't think we're there for the same reason. So what I found was that my time is very valuable and so is theirs. And I don't want to waste either one of ours. So I feel like in either a 5 minute conversation, if we're not having some productive conversation about how I can bring you business and you can bring me business, then we're not in the right space. I've also had networking opportunities where I felt like they were the straw and I was the cup. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. I worked really hard for this information. You have to pay for that, by the way.
Wow.
You have to pay really good money because that's someone's really that's someone's that's someone's bread and butter, right? Just don't be coming up with a straw. So I found myself going, I can spot you. I can spot you a mile away. I can spot you within a 2 minute conversation and actually know if I want to dive in, deeper. So networking has to be quality referrals or bust, or I absolutely will not return at all. It has to be fruitful.
Right. Right. And you said quality referrals, and that's actually one of the things I want to talk about next is, a quality referral for you and I, as we talked about, it's not a 20-minute call just to figure out if someone's a fit. That's not a quality referral. So I'm wondering, now that you've shifted and you're focused on quality referrals, what does that version of the business look like when there's more quality referrals and less friction getting them? Like, what does that do for your business?
It's so freeing. It almost feels like you're in a swamp, and the next thing you know, you're in like the Tahitian waters. It is so freeing because you can see so clearly each other. You can actually clearly see each other instead of feeling like you are in these swampy, dirty waters that just there's no clarity, there's no synergy, there you like you said, friction. There's just this, we're just not connecting, we're not clicking, and that's okay. You really can say no. Saying no allows you to open up yourself and your time to those opportunities of where you are seeing the blue waters. You are actually seeing the vision for the other person with the clients that they're going to get. And they're seeing the blue waters of what they're going to get with the clients. I just love the back and forth. And it can be never ending. It is that always ever filling cup that you feel like they're getting from you, you're getting from them, and that can last forever. And there are a lot more businesses out there that want to give than want to take.
That 100%. You just have to be willing to have the right conversations and meet with the right people. Another thing that you mentioned, you're based out of Oklahoma, but in your own words, and this is part of why you're multi-state licensed, you said staying just in Oklahoma would be a travesty. And you talked about growing and what you're doing to grow, but how does growing beyond the local market that you're in Oklahoma, like what does that actually look like over the next couple of years as you're expanding?
It comes with lots of conversation. I don't care if I'm on vacation, I'm still networking. If I am out there and I'm doing it, we're having a conversation. If it's the waitress, if it's I don't care who it is. Tell me about your state. Tell me about your facility. Also, the other thing that I enjoy is it costs $0 and 0 cents, no travel needed, is to get online. I've gone on social media. I've gone into specific groups that are just something very specifically that I've wanted to network in, and I have positioned myself to have conversations and offer information, and then almost be like a uh, what do they call, like a group, like room expert. And that right there is tremendous to be able to open up the opportunity for communication. Anything and everything is an opportunity to talk to anyone in a different state. And that is really nice. I have found, maybe they will find, is just having a simple communication and being yourself. You will find people that are from different states that want you to go there because their church, they've got this event coming up and you are perfect, even though you have never been in a group of that state ever.
You touched on it a little bit, but one thing that I do remember us talking about, we talked about a little bit on technology and AI, and you had a strong line about AI and uh being candid, right? I call them the AI bros. They're out there, they're everywhere. They're trying to sell and pitch AI to every business, even though every business might not need the solution they're proposing. And I'm a little biased. I have an AI company where I help other companies with it, but the difference was I started my business doing traditional business consulting after 15 years in operational leadership and scaling 6 different businesses. And so the thing that you said that stuck with me was, someone can go online and they can talk to a chat bot and they can ask it a question, and then suddenly they think they're an expert. They think they have all the information. And you've actually seen in real life where some of this information can actually send a woman into what you called like a hormone fit, right? Because they're not actually getting what they need. They're getting a very surface level answer from a large language model like a chat GPT or something like that. So as someone who's building a health climate the way that, or a health practice in this climate, like what's the line for you that you kind of draw where it's, hey, AI can be useful for certain things, but then in other places, like it doesn't really have a place. It's never going to replace what you do or what we do on a foundational level. But the reality is there's a lot of tools that can be used. So like how are you able to navigate that using it as a practical tool to help your business, but also weed out all of the noise that sometimes comes with everyone becoming an expert because they talk to Chat GPT about it?
I've seen a crop of these coaches, life coaches, health coaches, blah, blah, blah coaches, business coaches. And what they do is they feed into this funnel, information, and then it spits out this information based on AI. And someone actually thinks that they're talking to a professional. What I feel is the best thing to do is ask the business owner questions. How did you get started? What is your business model? Like, not like, not to give away the secret sauce or anything, because truthfully honest, you have to have logic. And there are times when AI is pulling from multiple data sources. When you actually, it says at the bottom, it can make mistakes. And there are times it can make very costly mistakes. But I tell this to my clients all the time. Hey, just so you know, if you're in social media groups, if you're doing chat GPT, it you can't sue it. It's not, you know what I mean? It doesn't, it didn't give you information. It gave you responses based on what you said. So I am someone who can logically think, and I can actually think in a way that is according to my license, and also to be beyond school. I have real world knowledge. I have real research. The AI is not out there doing the research. It's not doing the, putting the dirt, hands in the dirt, you know. It's really not the one doing the grind. It's really pulling from multiple resources. So AI is a tool that I use not to diagnose. I don't use it to read my labs. I don't use it to think critically for me. AI cannot think critically. It absolutely cannot. And I know people want it to, but it cannot. Remember, it does. AI has limitations. Research and the human function, we are very complex people. You know what I mean? So, to be honest with you, if you are going to use AI, use it professionally. Let your clients know that you're using AI, and that is responsible. And then also let them know from my experience, from my education, so that way they actually see you being the professional instead of just chirping back what AI told you. You have to have logic.
Well, and I think you hit on it perfectly there. And that's one of my favorite things about helping businesses with AI is there's a lot of trivial, meaningless things that we waste our time on every single day that then discounts how we're able to serve our clients in person, whether it's a conversation, a diagnosis, actually sitting down face to face and having that deep dive into the problem that they're having. You just mentioned it, like having your hands in the dirt, right? And so I think what you just hit on kind of translates to what I tell people. Use AI to free up your time so that you can focus on working on the business versus always having to work in the business every day, right? You're doing all the invoicing, you're doing all the emailing, you're managing your calendar by yourself, you're booking your appointments by yourself. Next thing you know, you have 4 to 6 hours a day where you're not actually doing meaningful work, you're doing trivial tasks. And I think the way that you're describing using it, like, yeah, use it to automate something, use it to save more time, but don't ever lose the focus of what you're supposed to be doing, which is helping clients, helping your people, and actually moving the needle for their life as you are, or for me, their business, whatever it is. So I think that's a great way to put it, because AI is really only as good as the user, right? And you just said that, like, crap in, crap out. That's how it works. Going on to the next thing, and then I want to get into the tradition we have on the podcast at the end, which I ask a very special question to the podcast. But before we do that, you had talked about there are occasions where you'll actually go give a free talk to a room full of, let's say it's a room full of women. And you talked about how one of your missions is to get the truth in front of them. And so after doing this for a lot of years, what's that truth that you're really still focused on getting out to women in particular?
The truth that I give to women is that their symptoms are the ones that are speaking about what's going on with you. Write it down. Don't forget what you have going on, because when you get to that doctor's office and he starts asking you all the questions, the white walls are there, and then the blood pressure checks, and then the traffic there was crazy. And then, so remember, how you feel is how you feel. It doesn't matter if that provider punches in your symptoms of what you could remember and it spits out this diagnosis and it spits out this prescription. If you still have things going on, that is the truth. The truth is that in that 10 to 15 minutes, there was more that your provider could have given you, but their job is not to provide the education. Their job is to provide the diagnosis. That's what they went to medical school for. They print you out a sheet. I pick up the baton. The truth is, insurance is going to pay for you to see your doctor for 10 to 15 minutes. But the part that you're not going to see is me, the RN, the educator, the one that can break it down, the one that can actually really dive into your symptoms and go, but I think your provider may have there's a step here. Let's go talk to your provider. Let's ask this question. That is the truth. The truth is more than what you're going to get in a Facebook chat. As soon as you ask about hormone replacement therapy, because you're going to get a gobble of MLMers, they're going to shove you on their supplement for life because it's going to help you because it says the word menopause on their package. The other thing is, the truth is, there are some things that can actually be detrimental. Using social media, using AI, it doesn't know all those other things. Dupes. Dupes are a big one. There are some dupes that are so caustic, they're carcinogens. What are the ingredients? Cute that it's $1.25 for this thing right here, but over here it's this much dollars. Just be mindful. What is the quality? That's the truth. Read the labels. Use ChatGPT to look up the label of the product and ask if there's anything toxic in it. If there anything in there because you may have cancer, you may have this issue. What is the truth? I will find that there are so many Gen Xers out there and even into the millennials that love the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to skim it, because if you skim and you get real skinny information, you could have more damage than that $1.25 product. Seek the truth, ask questions.
Well, yeah, find a real professional like you that actually knows what they're doing and allow them to guide you. You can still ask your questions. You can still, hey, Connie, I found this. What do you think? Right. But find a professional that actually knows what they're doing. This is your body. This is your health. You're putting things into your body. I would think that there would be more, well, we have a self-care deficit, like you said, but I would think there would just be more thought behind just taking another supplement or doing something like that. But I digress. We could spend all day talking about that. Now, before I get into the tradition on the podcast, which I ask what I call the magic wand question, I want to give everyone the opportunity first. I know you were running a masterclass at one point. You're doing your talks. You have, your one-on-one stuff, your virtual stuff, all different states. We will make sure that we post Connie's information, her social media links, where you can see her website. But coming from yourself as the founder, where's the best place for people to connect with you, the best place for them to find out about what you're doing and how you help people? Where can people connect with you?
Oh, my website, selfcareuniversityok.com. The OK stands for Oklahoma. I want to be in all 50 states, so just remember that. The other thing is, I post, you get frontline information in there. That is the best way. It's also a a position for you to speak to me. If you're in a different state, there's a communication area in there as well.
Awesome. So we will put the website up for everyone to check you out there. We'll also have your LinkedIn page and any of your other social medias in the description of the episode. So all of our listeners, make sure that you guys like and subscribe to our different channels, connect with Connie, ask questions. Maybe you're going through a journey right now where you need some help. That's exactly where Connie comes in, and where she's able to help people is bridge that gap between being in the unknown and actually understanding what your plan should be and how you can go about changing some of those habits, different lifestyle things. There's a lot of different things that Connie's able to help with from everything that I've seen. Few specialty areas, but please make sure you guys like and subscribe to everything. Now, Connie, before we close out, we have a tradition on the podcast where we end each episode with what we call the magic wand question, right? And so you had mentioned about, one of your goals right now is to have quality referrals that lead to quality clients, not wasting any time on the vetting process or being in a room full of roofers when that's not your target audience. So here's the question that we ask everyone that comes on the show, and maybe what you say is going to help somebody else. We don't really know, but we always leave with this question. If you had a magic wand to be able to fix one thing in your business right now, what would that thing be?
That is such a good one. How many people pause? Because I know the
Almost
answer.
everybody, take your time. But yeah, almost everybody pauses because I don't think people give themselves the chance to think about that.
If I had a magic wand
To
to
fix
what would
one
help me in
thing.
my business,
Yeah.
I there I have so many. Is this three wishes? How many
Yeah,
is this
go
genie?
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, that's why we end the podcast this way, because I think it's a very thought-provoking question and we usually get a lot of good answers on it what people can learn from.
This would be my dream. Doctors have groups because they're a doctor, they have groups, they get referrals from that group. I wished there was a naturopathy group. I wish there was a group that was just where people could funnel in and find a naturopathy practitioner, someone who they can read their bio, click on their link to their website, ask them some questions. That would be a dream. There's no group. There's no group like that at all. Um, I would pay really good money to be in that group too.
It's an idea. Maybe you should start that group.
Oh no, my gosh.
I mean, if there isn't one and you see a need for it, but I love that answer. No, there's no wrong answer. That's why we asked the question, because we get everything from, oh, if I just could get more sales, to actually wanting to be a part of a bigger community to help more people and connect with more
Yes.
like-minded people. So I love that. As as we close out, again, our guest today was Connie Street on the Grid Shift podcast. You can check out her website. We'll put that in the description of the episode. Before we stop recording, Connie, is there anything else you'd like to say to the audience or anything to close us out?
Ask questions. And thank you so much, Alex. Make sure you all check out his website, his business, and if you get to have the opportunity to be on his podcast, it's a blessed situation. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Connie. For everybody out there listening, I'm your host, Alex Durante. This is the Grid Shift podcast, and we will see everyone on the next episode. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.